All right, my friends, we're just about to jump in the studio and start the program tonight. And tonight on the show, it's going to be really exciting because we have very strong political speakers and self-proclaimed cougars. A man who says what he wants, when he wants to say it, and Larry David's house guest. So don't curb your enthusiasm, Canada. This is the hour.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. How's your day? Is your day wonderful today? Yes. Was it better than yesterday? Yes. Are you lying?
Yes.
Hi, Canada. I'm your boyfriend, George Strombolis. It's a pleasure to be with you. I got to tell you that welcome to the 295th day of the year. This is the 295th day of the year. 70 days are left in the first decade of the 21st century. Only 70 days are left. I've got to say, the 2000s so far, bit of a letdown. I want to look at the positive of life, right? I want to see how life is. But really, think about it. I would have thought we'd have had flying cars. I would have thought we had solved world hunger. They kind of promised this. Maybe something about climate change. Nothing. Nothing. So to everyone in charge of that stuff, you've got just over 2 months left. Get on it. Treat this like your exams at Yale or wherever it was you went. McMaster, UBC, cram. And get it done. I gotta say, tonight's show will be fun because one of the most fun films of the past decade was Kill Bill, and one of the stars of that film tonight on the program, Vivica A. Fox will be here. You know what I'm talking about? You know, I think for a lot of people, when they talk about the decade that's gone, the 2000s, they talk a lot about politics because politics were front and center. There was a very controversial president in the United States of America. That tends to lead people towards activism. The 2000s have been good for political comedians. If you think about it, not just the 8 years of George Bush, multiple wars, global economic meltdown. Tonight, a guy who's political and he's funny, Bill Maher, is going to be here tonight. So it'll be nice to have both of them on the show. Now, the last time, Bill was on the show once before. Him and Larry Charles were on the show talking about their documentary called Religulous. Tonight, we're not going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about swine flu, vaccinations, Obama, and a whole lot more. It'll be great to have Bill Maher back. Here's his bio.
You know, George, if you want someone who speaks their mind, well, nobody does it quite like Bill Maher. Whether it's politics...
This is a fear election. Johnny Jihad will drive a car bomb into your house. You're like the Democrat.
Or religion.
It's silly, outdated, superstitious, destructive.
Or corporate hypocrisy.
Americans will do anything to each other for money.
Bill's always got an opinion, and it's made him one of the most successful political satirists today. Bill's dad worked in radio news, so his family talked current events a lot. And Bill's idol? Johnny Carson. So you can see why Bill is who he is. You probably know his first show, Politically Incorrect. It ran for 9 seasons, and Bill pulled no punches.
We have been the cowards, lobbing cruise missiles from 2,000 miles away. That's cowardly.
That is a
Staying in the airplane when it hits the building. Say what you want about it, not cowardly.
That comment ticked off a lot of people, including advertisers, and the show ended up being canceled. So Bill left network TV and went to cable to start up a new program, Real Time with Bill Maher.
Everyone today is saying, Kerry killed Bush and Bush was off his game. What game did this guy ever have?
Bill comments on everything from Obama to animal rights to his libertarian views to his belief that gambling, prostitution, and marijuana all should be legalized. Hell, he'll even take on his own audience when he thinks they're crazy.
Hey, do we have some security in this building? Or do I have to come over and pick this guy down out of here?
You can catch it all every week on HBO Canada.
Everybody, please welcome back Bill Maher. Nice to see you, man. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be back, George.
Nice. You just wrapped the 7th season of Real Time.
It's like a tour of my hair. Really, when you see that, isn't it? It's terrible to do that because it really just becomes. People are like, they don't. I could be saying anything. I'd be like, wow, look at his hair now.
Are there certain tour stops on that hair trip that you remember better than others?
You know, you didn't go far. If you went a little further back, it would have been really embarrassing. I was talking about this with Gary Shandling, was on our show the other night. He used to talk about his hair all the time, and We were like, what was in the water in the 80s that made everybody's hair like that? I had like a squirrel on my head. I mean, I had like, it wasn't a mullet. It was worse than a mullet. It was like this two big bushy things back here, and I don't know.
In the 7 seasons of this particular show, do you look back at some of the early tapes? Do you get time to reflect?
You know what? I probably should look at tapes. I mean, that probably is the professional thing to do. I just have a mental block about doing that. I am never able to watch my own show.
Are you able to reflect on your
So
life?
I don't know what I'm doing. Because I'm high when I'm doing it, of course. And then I don't watch it, so this is the first time I've seen it. It looked all right.
You've never actually done the show really high, though, have you?
I would never do the show high. That would be a disaster. Are you seriously? Marijuana is not meant for something like doing a TV talk show, because you have to be aware of so many things. It's the clock and the guests, and we got to move to this and that and that. I mean, you really have to be focused and on your game. That's not what pot's for.
When Politically Incorrect ended, did you think that you were done for a while on television, or were you scrambling right away to get back on?
I was surprised. I mean, you showed that clip that got me fired. I was surprised, looking back, on how quickly it did go away, because it was so intense when it happened. You know, the White House was up my ass, and they were talking about it at the White House press conferences, and you know, it was in the paper every day for a week or so, and it just was really intense. But it went away very quickly. It really did. I mean, 6 months later, people were like, what was that thing you said that got, you know, weren't you in some sort of trouble? You know, it's like, yeah, when I thought they were going to lynch me. So, you know, it was, that's so typical of America. You know, we are panickers. Whether it's Janet Jackson's nipple falling out of her bra, or 9/11 itself, we go to DEFCON 5 immediately. You know, Don Imus said something, we got to fire him, and you know, and then 6 months later, people go, oh, you know what? It wasn't really that.
Do you think that people have learned from that? And you know, the hysteria of the last couple of years. I mean, some of the tension was founded. I mean, people felt nervous for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
But then as time goes on, you look back now at the last 8 years, and it kind of does seem like Narnia. Like, it does seem like, wow, do you remember way back when?
Yeah.
Do you think people have changed or mellowed a little?
Well, I think we're absolutely susceptible to it happening again. I don't think we're great at learning. I really don't. You know, we just had a giant Wall Street meltdown that took down the world economy. It seems like nothing has changed there. They didn't learn a thing. You know, I thought when that happened, naively I thought, I guess, that America would go, you know what, maybe we should get back to making something. Have an economy based on actually making some shit. But no, they went right back to pushing numbers around on a computer screen. They're not selling anything.
They just had record payouts for salaries, some big Wall Street firms.
Exactly. You know, too big to fail. How about too to save?
Yeah. But as you know, that's the funny thing about any view that's...
Say that on this. Say
whatever you want.
I had a line. But they usually print the rules on the cup on the show, and I was looking and I didn't see them.
There are no rules for this particular show. You can say what you want. I think it's because people are afraid to have conversations and afraid to have debate. You're actually experiencing that right now with the panic about H1N1 out there, the virus formerly known as swine flu.
Apparently it's a panic about me.
Yeah, it is now. But you're talking about vaccinations, right? Because people are talking about vaccines.
Well, but you know what? I mean, people, it's so funny. I mean, I'm reading all this stuff on the internet lately about me and vaccines, and they're just making stuff up about me. What I said was, I don't want to get the flu shot. Yeah. And I don't. But they have extrapolated this into somehow, I had to go on my own show Friday night and deny that I don't believe in germ theory. No, I get it. I do believe in germs. I get it that germs are bad. Germs and viruses cause disease. What I've always said is that Western medicine takes into account too little that it's also the terrain. In other words, germs, yes, they can make you sick, but you have a better chance of withstanding that if you're in good shape. In other words, the terrain, the analogy would be mosquitoes in a swamp. Right. Mosquitoes breed easily if there's a swamp. So if your body's a swamp, the germs breed easily. But it doesn't mean I don't believe in mosquitoes.
Sure.
Yes, and the same thing. It doesn't mean I don't believe in vaccines. I understand that in some situations, vaccines are very important. You know, should we, inoculate third world kids against malaria or whatever they can be? Of course. You know, it's a cost-benefit analysis. For that, it makes sense. But for me, living in Beverly Hills to get a swine flu shot makes no sense at all.
You'll be fine. Do you remember that when you first became, I mean, you were like, how, you like 13 years old, the late 60s, 69, 13, 14 years old?
I was 13 and 69.
So when you know, political upheaval, the news, it seemed there was some sort of revolution happening, or at least that's how it was represented on television.
I was just masturbating.
Yeah.
Believe me, when I was 13, none of this.
But when do you remember when you first became aware of what was going on?
Yes, but see, I grew up in this news-oriented family. My father was a radio news guy, so it was sort of always around. By the time I was that age, I was really pretty aware. 12 was the big year, because that was 68. That was the conventions, the Chicago Convention with all the violence and the assassinations, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy. You know, 67 they called the Summer of Love. 68 was the Summer of Hate. Mm-hmm. That was a bad, bad time. But it was interesting, and I remember watching those conventions with my parents at home, and it was dramatic television, even for a 12-year-old.
How did your folks explain that to you? How did they contextualize what was, because they were obviously aware of the outside world and they weren't afraid of debate and questioning.
Right.
What do they say to a 12-year-old kid when Dr. King is killed and Bobby Jr. is killed and all this is happening?
You know, that's a great question, but I don't remember. You know, I mean, they were typical, not typical, but just very dyed-in-the-wool liberal Democrats. So I never really questioned what their view was. I always knew what it was. Nixon's an asshole. So, you know, no matter what happened, it really came back to that. The Republicans are bad and Nixon's an asshole.
Well, I remember the first time that I heard George Carlin, it blew my mind as far as questioning and being political. Was for you to get into comedy, because you could have become a journalist, which you kind of are now, but to get into comedy, do you remember where that began?
That began very early. I think that began because my father was a good living room comedian. And you know, you find this often with comedians, that it's something that sort of has to gestate through one generation. The father, very often. I know a lot of my comedian friends say the same thing. My father was a funny guy. He didn't go that one more step professional, but you know, kids want to be like their parents if they're good parents. You know, I wanted to be like my father. I saw him making people laugh in the living room. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it began. And then, of course, television is a big influence. You know, I loved Carson, I saw in your bio, Robert Klein, George Carlin, you know, huge influence. I mean, he was a cool dude, you know, long hair and, you know, hippie stuff, and talked about all the stuff, said bad words, you know.
They're like training wheels in a sense, aren't they, influences?
Yeah, and also, you know, when you start, you want to, you're so anxious to like be a success and not be left on the road, because there's a lot of roadkill in comedy, that you just latch on to what you think is the model for success. When I was first in the clubs, it was de rigueur, clean material. You have to have clean material to get on Johnny Carson, and you get on Johnny Carson enough times, then you get a sitcom. Because we saw that happen with people like Robin Williams. So that's what I wanted to do. And of course, that was the worst thing for me to do. I did it. Mm-hmm. I got the clean material. I went on Johnny Carson. I got sitcoms, and it led to absolutely nowhere. It led to me in 1990 going, oh, I'm a failure. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I sort of reinvented myself as what I am, which is what I always should have been, instead of playing the office creep on Bringing Up Chunky.
Well, that's a crazy.
I was actually very good at it.
It's a crazy spot to be in, you know, in 1990, when you've put a lot of work into a certain path, and then you're not a 21-year-old kid, and you're sitting there going, I don't have a job.
Right. And I did that. I mean, that absolutely happened to me. That happens in almost every career. You know, there's even Frank Sinatra, which is sort of depicted in The Godfather, that time of his career when, you know, he had been a big star from 1939, but in the early 50s, he couldn't even get a recording contract. You know, everybody hits that point where it's like, uh-oh, is this it? And then you're going to come back. And that, for me, was the early 90s. It was the hardest time in my whole career, because I had been on 3 or 4 sitcoms, and I'd done movies, not good ones, but, you know, something. I mean, I had a burgeoning acting career, but, you know, you got to be awfully lucky in the acting business. You got to get into stuff that's a hit. And
which could have nothing to do with your performance.
Absolutely. That's what I always told myself. It had nothing to do with my performance.
Stick around. We're going to come back more with Bill Maher. We'll go down to best and worst and see what Bill thinks of a bunch of stuff when we come back. What's the worst thing, in your opinion, about Barack Obama?
He's, I hate to say it, but he needs a little George Bush in him. He is too nice.
Oh my, somebody is accusing Barack Obama of libel. Who will it be? We'll get into that in a few minutes. And coming up a bit later on, a self-proclaimed cougar, Vivica A. Fox. Welcome back here on the program. We're hanging out with Bill Maher. Before I run down the best and worst, we were talking before about the guys that you watched. Did you ever have any actual practical mentors, people who helped guide you through the tough parts of the career?
Well, I would say Steve Allen was a guy who really made a point of doing that for me.
Well, him and Jack Parr, I mean, they're late night. They're talk show television in the world.
Right. I mean, certainly Steve Allen invented the Tonight Show and did it for the first 3 years of the show. And you know, everybody who has ever done a talk show owes a certain debt to Steve Allen.
Let me ask you some questions in terms of best and worst, and tell me if you think, okay, best U.S. president ever.
George Washington.
Best thing George Bush did as a president.
Left.
I want it noted for the record that answer counts as a cop-out, but okay. Did he do anything good?
Yes, he avoided a shoe.
He did have great reflexes, didn't he? What's the one thing that you appreciate about Rush Limbaugh?
He defended me after that 9/11 comment.
What's the worst thing in your opinion about Barack Obama?
He's, I hate to say it, but he needs a little George Bush in him. He is too nice. He needs to drag this country to the places it needs to be dragged to. You know, when they asked Dick Cheney once, they said to him, you know, most of the people are against the war in Iraq. And Cheney said, so? In other words,
swagger.
We got elected. You've done your part, people. Now it's up to us. You have an opinion? Go Twitter it to Rick Sanchez. But we're going to do what we have to do. And I wish Barack Obama had a little of that in him. Do you
think he's got it in him, or it's being coached out of him?
I don't know. No, I think it's his nature to be conciliatory and to try to bring people together. And, you know, it's sort of his background. I mean, when you're black in America, you're always kind of having to do that. And he's a mixed race guy. I mean, everything in his life has been about bringing people together. But maybe this is the one job where you have to kind of have a different skill set. So it's still early in his presidency. I mean, he seems a little too go along. I was hoping that we were going to get a real new sheriff in town. But this sheriff is still a little too cozy with the kind of corporate bloodsuckers who continue to suck this country dry. And, not this country, my country. Your country's still wet.
We're going to ask you, what's the best thing about owning a gun?
You can shoot someone who's, well, I mean, you know what? You'll laugh at me, but the other day, I came home from a little trip to Palm Springs, and my little dog, I could tell something was wrong. He was like completely shaken. And my friend came over from next door and he said, you know, 3 wolves jumped the fence and almost got Shadow.
Your dog?
Yeah, in broad daylight.
Those are some ballsy wolves.
Aren't they? So, you know, and he said, and when they're in packs like that, they go after you too. Well, 3 wolves? Come on. So the next day when
These are teeth marked from an actual timber wolf.
Really?
That was on this set. I let them have the chair. It's all yours, buddy.
You did have trouble getting guests at the beginning.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the wolf was very entertaining. So what did you say?
So the next day when I went up to play basketball, I brought my gun. I went to play basketball with a friggin' .357 Magnum. I was like, if these wolves come out of the thing, you know, they're gonna. You want a piece of me, wolf? You think you're gonna eat Shadow? We'll see about that.
Real Time airs on HBO Canada. Bill Maher, everybody. I appreciate it. Stick around. We'll be right back with Vivica A. Fox.
Was that like Jasmine? Or?
Dude, where's Vivica A. Fox?
She's in the studio. Why are you wearing a muscle shirt?
All right, I'm gonna level with you. I want to impress Vivica A. Fox.
In a tank top?
Yeah. Look, I don't normally do this, but I was gonna hit on her.
You only ever do this.
Yeah, but this time it's different.
How?
She's a cougar. She said so herself.
So what?
I've never been with a cougar. You know, had sex with?
Yeah, I get it.
She's an older woman. I'm a younger man. This is my chance.
Adam, she's like 45.
Yeah, I like older women.
You're 37.
Well, I look younger.
No, you look 37.
I'm diabetic.
Oh, so I'm supposed to just let you hit on a cougar? You're gonna be like, I want to get some cougar. I gotta get me some cougar tonight. Get cougar.
You're disgusting.
No, I'm not. It's him. I'm not. Jen.
I gotta agree with Jen.
Hey, what's going on? Come on back in. All right, I have to continue to hang out with you here on our little program. Everybody's all getting freaked out and getting their hair primped over there because Vivica A. Fox is here. People are all like getting, oh my God. I'm talking about you, by the way. Well, they are. So we're going to get into that. Also, an update on those massive bonuses that those cats on Wall Street were getting. And perhaps the most interesting story from around the world today. Wait till you see what dolphins are up to in the deep blue sea. You know, you think dolphins are all lovely? Oh my. We may have a breaking news story that'll change your view. But I want, before we go any further on the show and get Vivica in the red chair, I want to just update for you that CBC News it's having a big week next week. Starting Monday, the national CBC News World, radio, and CBC.ca changing. They're all going to look at. That's right. It's all going to change. It's going to be hip hop on all of them. No, it's not. But CBC News World is going to become CBC News Network. They're going to have an all-new lineup, a bunch of new shows. And one of the shows is being hosted by a good friend of ours, Mark Kelly. The show is called Connect. So we just thought, let's connect with Mark Kelly over my shoulder. Hello, young man. How are you?
George, I'm great. I just want to say that Canada, as of Monday night, Canada is going to get a new boyfriend, and that's me.
That's nice. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you, Kelly. I don't need them to be faithful to me, so I'm totally fine with that. So look at this fancy set behind you. Just for people who are going to tune in to Connect for the first time, what are they going to see?
Well, George, here's what I want to do, because on your show, and what you guys do so well is you're sitting down, you're talking to some of the movers and shakers, you're talking to some of the biggest stars in the business. I think it's fantastic. I want those people to get comfortable in your red chairs. What I want to do is be talking to the other people, the everyday Canadians who are directly connected to the stories, the people who are making news out there. I want to, get them to share their experience to really help us explain what the news is all about. I don't want to hear their opinions. I don't want to have speculation. I want to talk to people about what they are living and what they're learning from their experience. And I'm going to be doing it right from here. And this studio may look familiar to you, does it?
It kind of does. Didn't we used to do our show there?
This is where George used to do the studio. And now, George, we've given it, look around here. It's like coming in and doing a little bit of a reno job. We have got this beautiful studio, and this is all part of the new network that we're building here, and giving it windows on the world. So what we want to do is I want to be talking to a lot of Canadians. I'm going to be bringing them into the studio here to show them, bring them into, this is going to be my living room right now. And this is where we're going to connect, and we're going to do it in all kinds of different ways, whether it's online, whether it's getting people up in the screens, just to get that connection with everyday Canadians.
I can just imagine how cool it would be if we hooked our video game machine up to that screen behind you.
I got to tell you, George, and this is just between you and I, we put the hockey game in there the other night, and it was awesome. Come playoff time, you're going to be down here. And I'm looking around here, and I'm thinking, wow, this is history. This is where the hour started, and look what's happened to you, and this has been fantastic. But as I went through, I saw something that made me think of you, George. I don't know if you lost this, but there's like this black T-shirt just hanging here.
You know what? I'm glad you found that, because I thought I left it somewhere else and I didn't want to call her. So that's amazing. I'm just kidding. But it's not just you, right? I mean, the CBC's obviously got their different place. We steal people from CTV and Global now. You've got someone who'll be on the show with you. Reshmi's going to be on the show, right?
Reshmi Nair's come over from CTV. I tell you, this person is going to be a star, and I want her to make her name on this program. I'd like to think we got a 2-hour show going every night. I don't know if every night Canada can take 2 hours of Mark Kelly, but I know you will want to watch Reshmi Nair. She's fantastic, and she's really part of the cast of characters. Jennifer Hollett, who you worked with at one point in your life, will be on as well as a digital contributor. She's going to be tapping into the digital world and getting people involved through Skype and Twitter on our show, so you can be part of the conversation. This is where we really want to connect with Canadians. This is the place to be.
And it debuts on Monday night on CBC News Network.
7 to 9 p.m., 5 nights a week. I'll be here for you.
Good to see you, buddy. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thanks so much, George.
Mark Kelly. Make sure you check out his brand new show. It is called Connect with Mark Kelly this Monday, 7 o'clock on the brand new CBC News Network. All right, so an awful lot did happen in the world today. This is where we get you caught up. Let's go.
right, so what's happening in the world today and in your country? Perhaps you saw some of the protests throughout the day when George W. Bush made an appearance in Montreal. He went there for the poutine. A lot of protesters were mad at him because he put ketchup on it, which is just not cool. Actually, some protesters even threw shoes at him. And I don't know if you heard, but current U.S. President Barack Obama is now being accused of libel. And you'll never guess by whom. Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney. That's actual footage of how he enters into every room. It's totally. Cheney says Obama libeled CIA agents because he referred to enhanced interrogation techniques as torture. Which is odd because, Mr. Cheney, until you came along, the entire world called it torture. Just because you prettied up the name, that doesn't change what it is. Cheney's the kind of guy that would get mad because you decided to call oranges enhanced vitamin C delivery orbs, while everybody still calls them oranges. And part of the protest that George Bush had to face, and part of the stuff that Cheney's talking about as it relates to Obama, is because of Guantanamo Bay. And you hear waterboarding and sleep deprivation. I know that's something you talk about a lot when I bump into you on the streets. You're like, what about the torture? But apparently, U.S. officials used another form of torture. Music. There are a bunch of recording artists now who want the White House to release the names of every song used at Guantanamo Bay to break the prisoners down. Here are the songs. Eminem's The Real Slim Shady. Because I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady, all the mother Slim Shadys are just imitating. But not just that. Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, the Meow Mix jingle, and the Sesame Street theme. Allegedly, they were all blasted at prisoners, and in some cases, they were blasted for days on end. So some people think that's search. Wait a minute. Playing a song over and over again violates the UN Charter Against Torture? Awesome, now I can sue commercial radio. Damn it, you and your Lady Gaga. Ooh. All right. The Olympic torch was lit in Greece today. The reason why this is significant to you, because it's coming to Canada. It'll be here next Friday for the torch relay for the Vancouver Winter Games. China's, by the way, economy red hot, grew nearly 9%. I'm not sure if it's because of how smooth the last torch relay went for them, but their economy grew 9% in the last quarter. They own us now. You realize that, right? We're all part of the People's Republic of China, and the White House is going to cut the pay of some of America's top executives. So remember last week we told you, wow, that is an awful photo. Fat cats and bull testicles. Wow. Last week we told you about how the record payout for some of these big companies on Wall Street. Well, now the United States government is going after the 7 companies that received the most bailout money. Their top execs will have their salaries cut by 90%. 90%. That means a CEO making $20 million a year is now just going to have to learn to get by on $2 million. Plus bonuses, and a country club membership, and a car, and an expense account. Oh, quick, somebody call Bob Geldof. We got to organize a bake sale for them. Now look, you know that I am, without a doubt, I'm the world's biggest reader. And by that I mean I start a lot of books. But you know, life happens, right? So I tend to judge a book on the foreword. I read a book, if the foreword's interesting, maybe I want to look at a book. That's why I was really excited about a new book, which is by the President of the Republic of Congo. It's a very dangerous place in the world right now. The foreword by Nelson Mandela. In the book, Nelson Mandela refers to Congo's president as one of our great African leaders. Except here's the problem with Mandela's words. You see, he didn't write it. Mandela's never even seen the book. Just the Congo president was trying to profit from a famous name, and then Mandela's like, I don't even know that guy. But I will say this, Mr. Mandela, it's a pain I know all too well. I had nice things to say, too. Finally, some marine biologists have made a remarkable discovery. Would you just look at this, please? See there? That's a dolphin flipping a jellyfish in the air. Apparently, a team of dolphins were doing this off the coast of Wales. They swim under jellyfish, and they flick it 6 feet in the air with their awesome tails. Right? And I don't know why everybody thinks dolphins are so smart and adorable, because clearly they're kind of dicks. Though if you feel bad for the jellyfish, you've obviously never been stung by one. So from one advanced mammal to another, nice job, dolphin. All right, everybody, get it together. Vivica A. Fox is here. But first, what do you know about her? Here's her bio.
All right, George, I gotta warn you. Vivica A. Fox calls herself a cougar, so watch yourself out there. Born in Indiana, Vivica went to college in California. Upon graduation, she was having lunch one day on Sunset Boulevard. A producer spotted her and said she should give acting a shot.
The moment I saw you, I knew we'd be great together.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Do I make myself clear?
The only thing clear about you is a space between your ears.
Soaps and sitcoms paid the bills at first, until her breakthrough role in 1996.
You take care of yourself, you hear?
That's Vivica as Will Smith's girlfriend in Independence Day. A year later,
Happy anniversary!
critical acclaim for the film Soul Food.
Your family, and we're gonna deal with this.
She also played femme fatale Miss B. Haven in Batman and Robin.
What do you say we heat things up?
By 2003, Vivica's career got another boost. She starred in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill and was Uma Thurman's first victim.
Come on, bitch.
Oh, and around that time, Vivica also briefly dated 50 Cent. She's also appeared on Dancing with the Stars and famously moved in to Larry David's house on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
How's the cake?
Pretty good.
These days, she's still on Curb as Loretta Black and has a new comedy film done right here in Toronto. It's called Shark City.
You are a lifesaver. How can I repay you?
Hey, Kenny, look, it's Veronica Wolf.
Hey.
Everybody, please welcome Vivica A. Fox. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you, darling.
How are you?
Excellent, excellent.
Well, I mean, in a sense, you are not a Canadian, but you're home.
Yes, I
A lot of time
am.
here, haven't you?
I have in the past. I've done a lot of filming here. I lived here for like 2 years.
That's a lot of
so
fun.
I learned a lot about shopping, Vaticano, eating, friends, and I'm always really happy to come back here, and I always celebrate my birthday here.
Newscaster. I mean, this is talk about the role, like, and what you did.
Yeah, I play a newscaster in Shark City, and one of the guys, has an amazing crush on me, so he meets me, and his goal in life is to get with me. So, but mainly I play a newscaster, which worked out perfectly for me.
Is acting difficult or more, not difficult, is it different for you now at this stage of your life as it would have been when you were in your 20s? Has that changed?
Yeah, absolutely. The roles are a lot harder. There's a lot more work. And also, now that I'm a woman in my 40s, and I'm very proud to say I'm in my 40s. Thank you, baby. Still got it. The roles, it's difficult for them because it's evolving. Before, it was like, after 35, they just put you out to pasture. They just didn't know what to do with you. And now with Cougars and Sarah Jessica Parker and Sex in the City, you know, girls are still getting it, y'all. Right? Let's get something for girls getting it. For the women getting it. It's changed a lot. So now the roles are a lot funner, they're a lot sexier. It means you got to work out a lot more than what you used to have to. But it's cool because I like fashion. So
has it changed being a black actor at this stage of your life in your 40s as opposed to 20s?
Absolutely.
Or an actor who is black? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes it's difficult for them. They really don't know what to do with an attractive African-American female in her 40s. But that's why I do my own films, and I do my own projects and my own reality shows, and I don't let them put me in a box and tell me what I can't do or who I can't be.
Who would be them in this situation?
Just the studios. Yeah. They just don't know what to do, and I think that there's an audience that's hungry, especially to see quality African-American films and television shows, and so I have made it my personal job to deliver.
And so,
Thank you.
We have, but no matter who you have on the show or anybody who makes films who are successful, in fact, people just assume that when you're very successful, it's just easy to get a film made. It's it's very difficult, right?
Yeah, well, now that I've been doing a lot of films independently, you have to get investors, and the investors, the first thing out of their mouths is, well, who else is in the film besides you? We love you, but who's going to direct it? Who also is going to be in the film? So they've got to make sure that they can get their advertising dollars and their investment back as well. So then you got to pick up the phone. Thank God I've got a lot of people on speed dial that I can say, hey, come by and do a quick cameo for me. And, especially in the African-American industry of actors, we're all very close and we support each other a lot. Like, I'm very good friends with Queen Latifah, who is making so many wonderful films, and her films are opening doors for the rest of us as producers.
People forget, too, that Queen Latifah, her first career She was the opposite of Main Street.
Yes.
Like she was, her records were militant, they were strong, and that doesn't, now she's doing Maybelline ads, right?
Yes.
Years ago, that's
She's a cover girl.
She's a cover girl,
yeah.
right? And then you have Ice Cube, who was in the scariest band in the world in NWA. The president of the United States hated that band, and now he opens, actually, didn't you, you worked with Will Smith on, you did an episode of Fresh Prince, didn't you?
Yes, years ago.
And then doing a movie.
And we did Independence Day, and I worked with Jada.
You worked with Jada as well. When you were on that set, when you did that episode of Fresh Prince, it was in the early 90s. Do you have any idea that Will was going to become who he has become?
Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you. Let me just keep it real. I love Will. He is awesome. The first time that I actually thought Will Smith was sexy was in Bad Boys. Y'all remember that scene? When Will Smith was running down the street and the shirt opened up, everybody was like, Will! Well, we have come a long way since the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And he evolved in front of our eyes. But when I tell you guys, Will Smith is one of the most deserving superstars that is down to earth, that will greet you today the same way that he did yesterday. He's an awesome man, and he's a gentleman and a wonderful husband and a wonderful father, and more than anything else, a wonderful role model. And I adore him. He just cats me out of me.
What did the Kill Bill series do for you? I mean, what was that like? And we just lost David Carradine, but I mean, like Kill Bill, what was that like?
What was David think about? I love you, David, but I can't. I was like, suicide? Okay, that doesn't make sense. That death was shocking to me. There's been a lot of deaths this year that have been absolutely...
It's been a really bizarre year.
Yeah, and especially like in the last couple of months, a lot of wonderful people left us. But anyway, back to Kill Bill. Kill Bill led to Missing, which has then brought me up to Canada for a really long time, which turned me into an executive producer as well as star of a show, leading lady, a kick butt lady, and I love Kill Bill. I love what that did. I had a lot of bruises though. Oh yeah. I remember one morning sitting in a tub and counting, and I had 30 bruises on my legs, but I was proud of them. I was like, girl, you really doing something, all right. You know, I did 95% of the stunts, so what you guys see, me and Uma were in there duking it out. We fought 4 days for 12 hours. We'd wake up in the morning, hey girl, how the kids doing? You good? You got your eggs? All right. You know,
do you ever get the sense that you guys probably nailed it on the first day? It's just Tarantino wanted to watch you fight for 4 days?
That's a good one. Yes and no.
Yeah. All right, stick around. 2:20 with Vivica A. Fox when we come back. The part of your body you like best.
My booty.
You guys to come back tomorrow on the show. Take a look at her. She's gone through an awful lot. Drew Barrymore will be here, but not just Drew. Our lovely lady, Catherine O'Hara. Drew and Catherine and author Nick Hornby. All of them will be on the show. As back on the show, Vivica A. Fox is here. You mentioned cougars. We did the cougar joke here. You got to show cougars, right?
I'm the host of the show.
Yeah, so tell people about cougars. Is it like Sex and the City, but real?
Wow, that was quick. Is it like Sex and the City, but is it real?
Yeah.
Well, Samantha's, I think, the only one on the show that's kind of a cougar, that she likes younger guys and she doesn't have a problem if she wants to get it. Cougar is about a 40-year-old woman who happens to just be attracted to younger guys, and younger guys are attracted to her. She was recently divorced, and she gets her pick of the litter, and I get to present them to her. So I'm the host of the Cougar, and then they were looking for a celebrity that's dated younger guys, and because I have a little bit of a history of doing that. I know, why? I know, and I told them to tell you not to ask me no questions about him.
If they told them that, no one's going to tell me, they know I won't listen to that.
No, because I dated 50 Cent, then of course they were like, yep, that's the perfect host for it.
But
so
everybody knows not to, because if they told me don't ask you about 50 Cent, then I'm going to ask you about 50 Cent. But I'm not going to, wait, is everything okay there?
No, sure, come on.
No.
We got the party started. Let's go.
No. I'm not going to ask you any questions. I wouldn't answer about myself.
I just want to know why everyone's so fascinated by it. It's a relationship that was over literally 4 years ago, and we dated for 4 months, and people still made it like we got married and the whole nine, because if we had, our show would be spending his money right now.
Roll the animation, 220. Gotta laugh at
You
life.
gotta laugh
yeah.
at life. Things happen.
Do you ever just accidentally catch yourself singing one of those songs?
No, I love his music. He makes great music, yeah.
You ready?
Just not the ones that are about me, but he was mad at me at the time.
He was certainly mad at
but
you.
That's all right.
Let's get some time on the clock.
All right.
You ready?
Okay.
All right, first question, 220. What's the quickest way to tame a cougar?
A black American Express card.
All right, so we all know about Kill Bill. We talked about that. We all know how it turned out, but in real life, you versus Uma, could you take her?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, in a word.
Because I should have been Black Mamba.
You should have been Black Mamba.
Okay.
Okay, fine. In a word, Canada is?
Fantastic.
There you go. Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney, Bale. Who's the best Batman?
Oh, say it again one more time.
Keaton,
Huh?
Val Kilmer, Georgie Clooney, Christian Bale.
Tie between Keaton and Kilmer.
There you go. Oh, wow. Controversial choice.
Yeah, that's a tie, yeah.
All right, what's the one thing about yourself that you wish more people knew?
That I have a great sense of humor.
All right. You want to tell a joke? Got a good joke?
I've been telling the whole show, I hope.
There you go. All right, so what movie role do you wish you had played aside from Black Mamba? Which role?
Storm.
Storm, okay. Did you read for that?
Yes, I did.
Wait a second.
Came close.
And who got that role?
Halle Berry.
Didn't you and Halle, you did another show and Halle Berry had a role, right?
Yeah, it happens. You know, when you start out acting, there's always top 5 girls that whenever you go in for a part that are there. But yeah, I would have loved to have done Storm. But she did a great job.
You and her friends?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The part of your body you like best?
My booty.
Best fashion trend of the 80s?
Big belts.
Oh, okay, fine.
Cinch the waist.
Worst fashion trend of the 80s?
Oh my God, Gumby hairdos.
Did you tell that to Will?
Yeah, no, his was kind of fly because he didn't get too crazy with it. They used to have like stair steps that were awful.
There you go. Favorite hip hop artist of all time?
Tupac.
Ooh. Yeah. Another controversial choice. Okay, well, which do you prefer, iced tea or iced tea?
Iced tea.
Iced tea, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, very nice. Okay, what 2 things are in your last meal?
Eggs and turkey bacon.
There you go. Well done. That's it for 220. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Vivica's got a brand new movie. It's called Shark City, and it'll be on Super Channel real soon. Thanks for coming in. Well done.
Good to see you.
We'll be right back.
The World of Good News is brought to you by TD Canada Trust. Banking can be this comfortable.
The World of Good News.
Time to take that frown and turn it upside down. Tonight, my fine friends, we might have the best good news story ever. Take a look at this. That's what's happening outside right now. Don't go out. Stay with us. The hour is taking over. CBC will be on 24 hours a day until Peter shows up, and then we'll be good. Okay? No, that's not the good news. The collapse. That's actually from the upcoming film 2012. Perhaps you've seen the billboards around town or seen that commercial. The whole idea is that the world's going to end on December 21st, 2012. And you hear that a lot, right? So, and then there are actually people out there right now watching, and I know you are because you send emails going, dude, you're not talking about the end of the world enough. It's not going to happen. Apparently the world's not going to end, at least not on that day, because that movie is based, and that whole talk is based on the old Mayan myth, right? You see every 394 years in the Mayan calendar, they reset. And December 21st, 2012, next rollover. So in theory, all doomed. But here's the thing. Some experts have decided to get out there and set the record straight. Now, one of those experts is a Mayan elder in Mexico who's come out and said, it's a myth. Just a myth. Even NASA says it's not true, so my friends, the world is not going to end in 2012. In fact, NASA is planning to issue a public rebuttal to put an end to all the fear. So rest easy, because the people in the know say not to worry. Of course, that's just what they would say, isn't it? That's tonight's good news. You gotta think. You got to think that the people who made that movie, 2012, are all kind of going, thanks for nothing, assholes. We were really counting on this for a big box office. Tomorrow on the show, Catherine O'Hara, Nick Hornby, and Drew Barrymore. CBC.ca/The Hour is our website. Go on there, check out what we got for you. And thanks for hanging out with us tonight. That was a pleasure being with you, Canada. All right, here's tomorrow's headline tonight.